I showed up at my son's door on Thanksgiving 2025. He looked at me and said, "Nobody wants you here, old lady. This dinner is for real family. Get lost." I walked away without saying a word. But the next day I started something he never expected. Hello friends. I'm so grateful you're listening to my story today. Please give this video a thumbs up and stay with me until the very end. Tell me what city you're watching from so I can see how many places my voice reaches. My name is Dorothy Campbell. I'm 68 years old. I've lived in Seattle, Washington my whole life. I used to work at a flower shop for 40 years before I retired. My husband passed away 9 years ago from a heart attack. After he died, I felt so alone. My son Michael was all I had left in this world. He moved to California with his wife Rachel and my 2 grandkids, Lily and Nathan. I thought we were close. I really believed that. Michael used to call me sometimes. He remembered my birthday most years. He visited maybe once or twice when he could. I told myself that was enough. I convinced myself he was just busy with his own life. But deep inside I always felt something was missing. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't explain what it was. The trouble started last September. I called to wish Lily a happy 9th birthday. Rachel picked up the phone. Her voice sounded cold and angry. "Dorothy, we're extremely busy right now. Michael will get back to you later." Then she hung up on me. Michael never called me back. I tried calling again after 5 days. Nobody answered. I left happy messages about my garden and a silly thing my neighbor's dog did. Still nothing. Complete silence from them. Then I started seeing things on Facebook that broke my heart. My friend's grandson helped me learn how to use the internet. I looked at Michael's Facebook page to see pictures of my grandkids. What I saw made me feel sick inside. There were photos from Lily's birthday party. It was huge. They had a bounce castle, a petting zoo, and tables covered with fancy food. I wasn't invited. Nobody told me about it. I didn't even know it happened. Kept looking at more pictures. Halloween came and went. Lily dressed up like a witch. Nathan wore a dinosaur costume. The words under the photo said, "Amazing Halloween with everyone we love." I looked carefully at every person in that picture. Rachel's mom and dad were there. Her brother and his whole family came. Even some cousins I barely knew were in the photo. But I wasn't there. They didn't ask me to come. They acted like I didn't exist anymore. Did I do something bad to make them angry? I thought about every conversation we ever had. I remembered every visit to their house. Nothing seemed wrong. I couldn't figure out what I did. The quiet from their end got worse and worse. It felt like a heavy blanket pushing down on me. By the middle of November, I couldn't take it anymore. Thanksgiving was coming soon. Families are supposed to be together on Thanksgiving, right? They wouldn't keep me away on such an important holiday. I made a choice. I didn't call first. Maybe I was scared they would tell me to stay home. I bought a bus ticket to their city in California. I made my special sweet potato casserole that Michael loved when he was little. I packed my bags and took the 9-hour trip with hope in my heart and fear in my belly. Their house in the suburbs looked beautiful. It was a big house with 2 floors, pretty shutters, and a perfect lawn. The driveway had so many cars. I saw Michael's truck, Rachel's car, and 3 others I didn't know. Warm yellow light came from the windows. I could smell turkey cooking. I heard people laughing and talking inside. My hands shook as I walked to the front door holding my casserole dish. I practiced smiling. Would Lily and Nathan run to hug me? Would Michael be surprised but happy to see me? I knocked on the door. The sound seemed so loud. Michael opened it. He was wearing a nice sweater and holding a beer. His face was red from drinking and being warm. When he saw me, his whole face changed. His smile disappeared instantly. His eyes turned cold and mean. It was like looking at a stranger. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "Came for Thanksgiving, honey. I made your favorite dish." "Who told you to come?" His voice was loud enough that the conversation inside stopped. Rachel appeared behind him. Her face looked annoyed and angry. I stammered and said, "I thought." It's Thanksgiving. We're supposed to be family. This meal is for actual family only, old lady, Michael said in a mean voice. You can't just appear here without asking first. We have important guests. You need to go away right now. But Michael, I'm your mother. Leave now. His yelling echoed down the street. I saw curtains move in the neighbors' windows. People were watching. My hands shook so much I almost dropped my dish. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. The way Michael looked at me was full of hate. He looked at me like I was garbage he wanted to throw away. Like I meant absolutely nothing to him. For the first time in my whole life, I felt completely invisible and worthless. I turned around without saying anything and walked back down the driveway. Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't let them fall until I couldn't see the house anymore. That night I stayed in a cheap motel near the highway. I sat on a bed that smelled like old smoke and chemicals. I stared at my sweet potato casserole sitting on the dresser. I felt too sad to eat anything. My phone sat next to me, dark and silent. No sorry, no explanation, nothing from Michael. What did I lose? That question kept spinning in my head all night long. I lost my son, that was clear. Somewhere between his childhood and now, my sweet little boy turned into someone who called his mother old lady and shut the door in her face. But I lost more than just Michael. I lost years of my grandkids' lives that I can never get back. Birthdays, school concerts, soccer games, dance recitals. When was the last time I actually saw them? Last Christmas. No, it was the Christmas before that one. Almost 2 whole years. 2 years of being erased from their memories. The sadness turned into something harder as the sun came up gray and cold outside my window. Under all the hurt, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Anger. Real burning anger. Not the small annoyance when someone cuts in front of you at the store. This was deep, powerful anger about how unfair everything was. I raised Michael by myself after his dad died when he was 13. I worked 2 jobs to pay for his college. I was there for every single important moment in his life, every problem, every success. And this was how he treated me in return. He threw me away like I was trash when I became inconvenient for him. Well, this wasn't right. I wasn't going to just accept it. The motel coffee tasted terrible, but I drank 4 cups anyway. The caffeine made my brain work better and faster. I needed to understand what happened. I needed to know when this started and most importantly why it happened. My hands stopped shaking as I opened my computer and started searching. First, I looked through every single social media post from the last 3 years. I wrote everything down in a little notebook I always carry with me. Dates, events, people who were mentioned. A clear pattern appeared. I had been carefully removed from their story. Pictures from family gatherings where I should have been there but I wasn't. Captions thanking everybody except me. Rachel's mom was mentioned all the time with lots of praise. Grandma Betty baked cookies with the kids today. We're so lucky to have Grandma Betty helping us. Meanwhile, I became a ghost. Forgotten. Erased. But why? What could I have possibly done to deserve this treatment? I called my bank to check something. My savings account showed automatic payments I'd been sending to Michael for 4 years. Money I wanted to help save for the children's college. $600 every single month without missing once. That's $28,800 total. Was he even using that money for the kids? Or was he just taking my money while cutting me out of their lives completely? The thought made me feel sick to my stomach. By late morning, I had left the motel and sat in a coffee shop with internet. My notebook was filling up with information. I needed someone to help me, but who could I ask? My friends back in Seattle were kind people, but they were old like me. They had their own problems with their own families. I needed someone who knew about the law and how families work. Then I remembered Linda Parker. We worked together at the flower shop for 12 years before she quit to become a counselor for older people and their families. We used to send Christmas cards to each other, but I hadn't talked to her in about 6 years. Would she even remember who I am? I found her office phone number on the internet. Parker Family Counseling Services. I looked at my phone for 15 minutes before I got brave enough to call. My heart was beating so fast. What if she thought I was being dramatic? What if she said this was normal family stuff and I should just forget about it? Parker Family Counseling, Linda speaking. Her voice sounded exactly like I remembered. Warm, professional, and smart. I took a big breath. Linda, this is Dorothy Campbell. We used to work together at Bloom's Flower Shop. I'm not sure if you remember me, but I really need help. I think my son is trying to remove me from my grandchildren's lives completely, and I don't know what to do about it. There was a quiet pause. Then, Dorothy, of course I remember you. Tell me absolutely everything, and I mean every single detail, starting from the very beginning. For the first time since Michael slammed that door, I felt a tiny bit of hope. I had taken the first step forward. I had asked for help. I had started to fight back. This wasn't finished. Not even close. Linda met me at her office that next Monday. The room felt cozy and safe. Soft lights, comfortable chairs, and shelves full of books about family law and elder rights. She made me tea and sat down across from me with a notepad. Her gray hair was pulled back neatly. Her eyes looked sharp and focused. Start from the beginning, she said. When did you first notice something was wrong? I told her absolutely everything. The calls nobody answered, the birthday party nobody invited me to, the social media posts, the money I kept sending, and finally Thanksgiving. How Michael looked at me with such hate, the poison in his voice, the complete rejection. Linda wrote notes. Her face got more serious with every detail I shared. When I finished talking, she put down her pen and looked straight at me. Dorothy, what you're describing is called grandparent alienation. It happens more often than most people realize, and it's incredibly damaging to everyone involved. The good news is California has laws about grandparent visitation rights. The bad news is these laws are complicated and will need to build a very strong case. What do I need to do? Yes. First, we document absolutely everything. I need copies of all messages, emails, texts, phone records, social media posts. Second, we need to prove that you had a real, meaningful relationship with your grandchildren before this happened. Do you have pictures, letters, cards, anything that shows you were an active grandmother? He nodded. My mind was already thinking about the boxes in my attic back home. Birthday cards Lily and Nathan made for me. Pictures from visits when they were babies. The stuffed animals I sewed for them. The baby blankets I knitted for each of them. Third, Linda continued, we're going to write an official letter to Michael and Rachel. It will be professional and respectful but very firm. We'll ask for regular visits with your grandchildren and request an explanation for why contact was stopped. How they respond, or if they don't respond at all, will be very important evidence. And if they say no, then we file a petition with the family court. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Sometimes just getting a letter from a family counselor is enough to make people realize they're doing something wrong. We spent the next 4 hours going through documents and evidence. Linda helped me download and print social media posts. We created a timeline showing how the relationship fell apart. She photographed my phone records showing 72 unanswered calls. By the end of our meeting, we had a folder 3 inches thick. I'll write the letter tonight, Linda said. We'll send it certified mail this week so we have proof they received it. Part of me hoped Michael would call to apologize and say this was all a terrible mistake. But the bigger part of me, the part that saw the coldness in his eyes, knew better. The letter went out on Wednesday. I knew Michael would get it by Friday afternoon at the latest. Part of me was terrified about what would happen next. Friday came and went. Saturday morning my phone rang. Michael's name appeared on the screen. My hands shook as I answered. What do you think you're doing? His voice was pure rage. No hello, no pretending to be nice anymore. You sent a legal letter to our house. Have you lost your mind completely? Michael, I just want to see my grandchildren. You have no right whatsoever. They're our kids, not yours. You can't just threaten us with lawyers and courts and expect us to do what you want. I'm not threatening anyone, I said quietly. I simply asked to spend time with Lily and Nathan. Rachel is furious beyond words. Her parents are furious. Do you understand what you've done? You've turned a simple family disagreement into a legal nightmare. Simple family disagreement. The words hurt like a knife. That's what he called erasing me from existence. A disagreement. Michael, please just explain what I did wrong. Why won't you let me see Lily and Nathan? I've sent money. Called. I've tried everything I can think of. This is exactly the problem, he exploded. You're suffocating us. You're controlling everything. You've always been this way, always pushing yourself into our lives where you don't belong. The kids barely even remember you anymore. Nathan was only 5 last time you came here. They've moved on, Mom. We all have. The words felt like punches to my stomach. But then he said something that changed everything completely. Besides, we told them you were living far away in another state. We said you were too busy with your new life to visit. Just easier this way for everyone. They don't ask questions anymore. They don't feel bad. And we don't have to deal with you constantly demanding attention. My breath stopped. You told them I moved away. You lied to my grandchildren about me. There was silence. In that silence, I heard Rachel's voice in the background, sharp and angry. Michael, hang up right now. Don't say anything else to her. This conversation is over, Michael said. If you contact us again, if you send more letters, we'll get a restraining order against you. Stay away from our family completely. The phone went dead. I sat in my kitchen with the phone still against my ear. I felt something fundamental change inside me. They had lied to my grandchildren. They told Lily and Nathan that I abandoned them. Not only did they cut me out, they made me the bad guy in the story. I had evidence now. I had proof. Michael admitted everything in his anger without realizing what he revealed. This was the point where everything changed forever. There would be no making up, no apology, no peaceful solution. There would only be the fight ahead. I called Linda within 5 minutes of hanging up with Michael. My voice was completely steady now. The shock had turned into determination. He admitted they lied to the children, I told her. He said they told Lily and Nathan I moved away and was too busy to visit them. He said it was easier that way so the kids wouldn't ask questions. Linda's breath caught. Did you record the call? No, I didn't think about it beforehand. That's okay. Write down everything he said word for word, while it's still fresh in your memory. Put the date and exact time on it. This is exactly what we need, Dorothy. Parental alienation that involves lying to children about a grandparent's location is taken extremely seriously by family courts in California. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with Linda to file an official petition for grandparent visitation rights. We included the timeline, all the documentation, my written statement about Michael's phone call, and testimonies from 3 of my friends who could confirm my character and my relationship with the children before everything fell apart. The petition was officially filed on December 20th. Michael and Rachel had 30 days to respond to it. They responded in exactly 8 days, but not through lawyers or courts. They came to my house in Seattle. I was in my living room knitting a scarf when I heard a car pull up outside. Through my window I saw Michael's truck. My heart started racing. He got out, followed by Rachel, and a man I'd never seen before carrying a briefcase. They walked up to my front door with the confident walk of people who thought they had all the power. I thought about not answering. But that wouldn't help anything. I opened the door but kept the security chain locked. We need to have a conversation, Michael said. His voice was tight with controlled anger. If you have something to say, you can say it through your lawyer. I assume you hired one by now. The man with the briefcase stepped forward. Mrs. Campbell, I'm Stephen Martinez, attorney for Michael and Rachel Sherman. We'd like to discuss this situation before it goes any further into the legal system. There's nothing to discuss, I said firmly. Rachel pushed forward. Her makeup was perfect. Her face showed fake concern. Dorothy, please. We're trying to handle this the right way. Can we just come inside and talk? For the sake of the children. The children you've been lying to about me. Those children. Michael's jaw got tight. Mom, you need to stop this court case right now before things get really ugly. It's already ugly, Michael. You made it ugly when you told my grandchildren I abandoned them. The lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. Mrs. Campbell, my clients are willing to offer you a compromise. You can visit with Lily and Nathan 5 times per year on holidays or birthdays at times we all agree on. with Michael and Rachel present during visits. In exchange, you drop your petition and promise not to take any more legal action. 5 times per year, supervised at their convenience, after being an active grandmother who used to visit every other month. Absolutely not. Rachel's fake mask slipped away. You're being completely unreasonable. We're offering you time with them. Be grateful for what you can get. You're offering me crumbs from a table I helped pay for. The answer is no. Michael stepped closer to the door. His voice dropped to something dangerous and threatening. You want to play this game, Mom? Fine. We'll tell the court you're mentally unstable and unsafe. We'll bring up how you appeared without warning on Thanksgiving. We'll talk about your obsessive behavior, your constant phone calls, your inability to respect our boundaries as parents. We'll make you look like a crazy old woman who needs to be kept far away from innocent children. My hands shook, but I kept my voice calm. You'll lie under oath to a judge. That's called perjury. We'll tell our truth as we see it, Rachel said. Her voice was sweet like fake sugar. A grandmother who can't accept that her son has his own life now. Someone who stalks us online, who sends threatening letters through counselors and lawyers. The court will see you for exactly what you are. A lonely, desperate woman trying to force yourself into lives where nobody wants you anymore. The lawyer added, almost like he felt sorry for me. They'll also ask for complete protection from any contact with you. No phone calls, no letters, no looking at their social media. If you keep pushing this, Mrs. Campbell, you could end up with absolutely nothing at all. I looked at my son closely. Really looked at him. The man standing at my door didn't look anything like the boy I raised. His eyes were cold and calculating. He had become someone who would threaten his own mother, lie to his own children, and feel no guilt about any of it. Get off my property, I said quietly. If you want to threaten me, do it through the court system. Otherwise, I have nothing to say to any of you. Mom, you're making a huge mistake. They left. I watched through my window as they stood by the car arguing. The lawyer looked very uncomfortable. Rachel was clearly furious and yelling. Michael kept looking back at my house with an expression I couldn't understand. When they finally drove away, my legs stopped working. I collapsed onto my floor in the hallway and cried for the first time since that awful Thanksgiving night. Not quiet tears, but deep, painful sobs that came from a place of terrible loss. But underneath all the sadness, something else stayed strong. My determination to fight. They had shown me their strategy. They were willing to lie, threaten, and destroy my reputation to keep control. But they had also shown me their weakness. They wouldn't have come to my house and offered even a terrible compromise if they didn't think I had a real chance of winning. I called Linda and told her everything that happened. Then I followed her advice. I stepped back for several days. I didn't look at social media. I didn't drive anywhere near their house when I visited California. I didn't obsess about the court case constantly. Instead, I volunteered at the animal shelter, had lunch with old friends from work, went to my book club meetings. I needed to rest and gather my strength because the real battle was about to begin. 4 days before Christmas, a package came to my door. Inside was an expensive leather photo album filled with pictures of Lily and Nathan. Recent pictures I had never seen before. Birthday parties, school activities, Halloween costumes, Christmas morning's opening presents. A note was inside written in Rachel's handwriting. Dorothy, we know this has been very hard for everyone involved. We want to make peace with you. These photos are yours to keep forever. We'll send you updates 4 times a year so you can watch them grow up from far away. All we're asking is that you withdraw the court petition. Let's not put the children through a horrible legal battle. They're happy and healthy right now, and dragging this through court will only hurt them badly. Please think about what's truly best for Lily and Nathan. With hope for peace, Sir. I sat at my kitchen table slowly turning pages. Lily had lost her 2 front baby teeth. When did that happen? Nathan was so much taller now. His round baby face was getting older and more grown up. Here they were at a beach making sandcastles together. Here was Lily on stage in what looked like a school musical. Here was Nathan holding a soccer trophy and smiling so big. My heart hurt so much. This was exactly what they wanted. To dangle my grandchildren in front of me like bait, knowing I was desperate for any connection to them at all. I picked up my phone, then put it down, then picked it up again. One phone call. One compromise. I could have at least this much. Photos. 5 visits per year. Updates about their lives. Some tiny window into their world, even if I couldn't actually be part of it. My finger moved toward Michael's contact number. Then I closed the photo album and pushed it away from me. Whoa. This was manipulation. Pure and simple. They were offering me scraps and pretending it was generosity. 4 photos per year weren't a real relationship. They weren't Sunday dinners together or helping with homework or teaching Nathan to bake my special cookies like I taught Michael when he was little. They weren't being there when Lily had bad dreams or going to Nathan's soccer games to cheer for him. They were a prize for losers designed to make me give up the fight. I called Linda instead of Michael. They sent me photos, I told her. Recent ones with a note begging me to drop the petition in exchange for updates 4 times a year. Linda's voice was carefully neutral. And what do you want to do? I'm not falling for their trick. I could hear the smile in her voice. That's very good, Dorothy. They're getting desperate and scared. Means we're doing the right thing. Over the next 3 weeks, the temptations kept coming. Michael left a voicemail. His voice sounded softer now, almost like he was sorry. He said they'd been too harsh and mean and wanted to find a middle ground that worked for everyone. Rachel sent an email describing how Lily had asked about me, wondering if I was okay living so far away, and how difficult it had been to keep up the lie to her. But I stayed strong and calm and focused. I sent everything to Linda as evidence. I documented every single contact they made. I didn't respond to even one of them. What I needed wasn't their bargaining and deals. It was real support from people who cared. I found that support in unexpected places. First, there was Helen Morrison from my book club. When I finally told her what was happening, something I'd been too embarrassed and ashamed to do earlier, she told me her daughter had cut her off from her grandchildren 4 years ago because of an argument about politics. I gave up. Helen admitted over coffee at our favorite restaurant. I let them win because I was too tired and sad to keep fighting. Don't make the same mistake I made, Dorothy. Don't let them erase you from existence. Then there was my neighbor, George Palmer. He was a retired family court judge who'd lived 3 houses down from me for 20 years. When he saw me struggling with legal paperwork on my porch one afternoon, he came over to offer help. I've seen cases exactly like yours, he told me while adjusting his reading glasses to see better. Good people cut off for no real reason except power and control. The courts take grandparent rights very seriously when you can prove a genuine bond existed before. You've got documentation, you've got witnesses, and most importantly, you've got truth on your side. But the most unexpected support came from an online forum that Linda recommended to me. It was a community of grandparents fighting for the right to see their grandchildren. Hundreds of people sharing their stories, giving advice, and providing emotional support to each other. I read their stories late at night when I couldn't sleep. Grandparents who'd won visitation rights after years of painful fighting. Others who'd lost their cases but found peace anyway. Some who'd been reunited with their grandchildren once they became adults and learned the real truth. I started posting my own story online. The responses came within just a few hours. Stay strong and don't give up. They're testing you to see if you'll break. Document absolutely everything. Everything matters. My son did the exact same thing to me. I won my case after 3 years of fighting. Don't give up hope. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I didn't feel alone anymore. I was part of something bigger than myself. A community of people who understood exactly what I was going through because they'd lived it themselves. On Christmas Eve, I sat in my living room. The lights from my small tree made warm shadows on the walls. I thought about Lily and Nathan. I wondered if they were opening presents right now. I wondered if they ever thought about me. I wondered if they even remembered what I looked like anymore. The pain was still there deep in my chest. It would probably always be there. But my determination to fight was there too, just as strong. Michael called twice on Christmas Day. I let both calls go to voicemail without answering. In the messages, His voice changed from trying to be nice to sounding irritated and angry. They were finally realizing I wouldn't break. They were realizing I was completely serious, and they were getting scared. But let them be scared. The court date was set for February 5th. I had 4 weeks to prepare myself. 4 weeks during which I thought maybe, just maybe, Michael and Rachel would finally accept that this was really happening. I was wrong about that. They came on a Tuesday afternoon in the middle of January. This time they didn't bring their lawyer with them. I saw them pull up outside and thought about not answering the door at all. But something in Michael's body language, his shoulders slumped down, his head hanging low, made me stop and think. He looked defeated and exhausted and broken. Maybe, just maybe, he'd finally come to his senses and realized what he'd done. Open the door. No security chain this time. Mom, Michael said, and his voice cracked like he might cry. Please, can we come inside? Just to talk. No lawyers, no threats, just family trying to work this out. Against my better judgment and all my instincts, I stepped aside and let them in. They sat on my couch. The same couch where Michael used to do his homework as a kid. The same couch where I read him bedtime stories when he was small and couldn't sleep. Rachel looked around my room with an expression I couldn't understand or read. Michael's eyes were red like he'd been crying recently. I haven't been able to sleep at all, he started. This whole situation is tearing me apart inside, Mom. I never wanted things to go this far. I really didn't. Then why did you let it happen? I asked quietly. I sat across from them in my favorite armchair. He looked at Rachel. She gave him an encouraging nod to continue. I was trying to protect my family and keep everyone happy. Rachel's mother is very involved with helping raise the kids, and we felt, that having 2 grandmothers competing for their attention was confusing and hard for Lily and Nathan to understand. Competing. As if loving my grandchildren was some kind of contest or game. So you just erased me instead of figuring it out. We were planning to bring you back into their lives slowly, Rachel said. Her voice was smooth as honey and syrup. Once the kids were older and could understand complicated family boundaries better. This was always meant to be temporary, Dorothy, just for a little while. But then you went and got lawyers and counselors involved. And everything spiraled completely out of control. It was masterful, really. The way she made it sound so reasonable and logical. The way she made me the problem instead of them. You told them I moved to another state, I said flatly, without emotion. Michael winced like I'd hit him. That was wrong. I completely admit it was wrong. I panicked when Lily kept asking about you over and over, and I said the first thing that came into my head. But we can fix it now. We can tell them the truth, that there was a big misunderstanding, that you're back now, that everything is okay and fine. If I drop the court case first, right? Mom, think about what this will do to them. Michael leaned forward. His voice sounded urgent and desperate. Do you really want Lily and Nathan to grow up knowing their grandmother dragged their parents through court? Do you want them to read legal documents someday describing our family dysfunction and all these accusations? Is that the legacy you want to leave behind for them? The manipulation was breathtaking and stunning. He was trying to make me responsible for the damage that he had caused himself. What I want, I said slowly and carefully, is for my grandchildren to know their grandmother loves them more than anything. What I want is regular visits without supervision. What I want is to not be erased from family photos and lied about to innocent children. Rachel's expression changed completely. The mask of fake concern slipped away, showing something much colder underneath. You're being incredibly selfish, Dorothy. You're putting your own wants above the children's well-being and happiness. Michael and I are their parents. We decide what's best for them, not you. You don't get to make these choices. And you decided that lying to them was best for them. We decided that peace and stability was best. Her voice rose, sharp and cutting like a knife. Do you have any idea how much stress and anxiety this has caused our entire family? Michael's been anxious and worried for months. I've had to explain to my parents why we're being sued by Michael's mother of all people. Lily's teacher pulled us aside to ask if everything was okay at home because Lily's been distracted and upset. You're destroying our family, Dorothy. I'm destroying it. The anger I'd been holding back for so long finally came to the surface. I'm not the one who lied to children. I'm not the one who cut off contact without any explanation. I'm not the one who took $28,000 in education money while isolating the person who sent it from the children it was meant for. Michael's face turned red. That money was a gift from you. You can't hold it over our heads now. I'm not holding anything over anyone. I'm simply pointing out the clear pattern of dishonesty and manipulation. Rachel stood up suddenly. This is completely pointless. She's not going to listen to reason at all. Reason. I stood up as well. I felt years of buried rage flooding through my whole body. You want to talk about reason? You walked into my home, fed me lies wrapped up in fake tears, and expected me to abandon my grandchildren because it's more convenient for you and your life. What kind of people have you become? The kind who protect their children from toxic grandmothers. Rachel shot back at me. You're manipulative, Dorothy. You're controlling. And you're using the courts to bully your way into lives where nobody wants you anymore. There it was. The real truth beneath all the pretending. Michael grabbed Rachel's arm. Rachel, don't say that. No, she whirled around to face him. She needs to hear this truth, Michael. We don't want her around our family. The kids don't need her at all. My mother gives them everything they could possibly need. Your mother is just a bitter old woman who can't accept that she's not important or relevant anymore. The silence that followed was deafening and heavy. Michael looked at the floor, unable to look at me or meet my eyes. He didn't contradict her. He didn't defend me at all. He just stood there, agreeing with every cruel word she said. Get out, I whispered. Mom, please. Get out of my house right now. They left. Rachel's high heels clicked loudly on my floor. Michael followed behind her like a punished child. I watched through my window as they argued in my driveway. Rachel was gesturing wildly and yelling. Michael had his head in his hands. When they finally drove away, I sank into my chair and let myself shake with fear. Fear washed over me in waves. Fear that they were right about everything. Fear that I was alone. Fear that the courts would see me as exactly what they claimed, a bitter old woman refusing to accept reality and move on. But underneath all the fear was something much stronger. A blazing, righteous determination that felt like fire burning in my veins. They had shown their true faces to me. They had revealed their contempt, their manipulation, their complete lack of respect for me as a person and as a grandmother who loved her grandchildren. I picked up my phone and called Linda immediately. They came to my house, I said. And I have a very strong feeling they're going to regret it. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined it would be. Wood paneling on the walls, bright fluorescent lights, and a tired-looking judge with reading glasses balanced on her nose. Judge Maria Hernandez had a reputation for being fair but very tough, especially in cases involving children and their welfare. Michael and Rachel sat with their lawyer on the left side of the room. I sat with Linda on the right side. Behind me, Helen from my book club had come to give me moral support. George Palmer, the retired judge, came too. Their presence made me feel stronger and braver. Michael wouldn't look at me at all. Rachel stared straight ahead with her jaw set tight. Her expensive suit looked perfect and professional. They looked like the perfect couple, the responsible parents who had it all together. I looked like exactly what I was. A 68-year-old grandmother in a department store dress, fighting for something that should have been mine by right from the beginning. But I had something they didn't have. The truth. The hearing started with opening statements from both lawyers. Their lawyer painted me as an overbearing grandmother who couldn't respect reasonable boundaries. Someone whose surprise visit on Thanksgiving had understandably upset his clients. Someone whose legal action was harassment disguised as grandmotherly concern. Linda's opening statement was simple and clear. Your Honor, this is a case about a grandmother who had a loving, active relationship with her grandchildren until she was systematically erased from their lives through deception, manipulation, and lies. We're here to restore that relationship and make sure Lily and Nathan Sherman don't lose their grandmother permanently. Then came the testimony from witnesses. Michael went first. He described me as someone who called too much, who made him feel guilty for living his own life, who had always been controlling and overbearing since he was young. He painted a picture of a mother who couldn't let go and move on. Rachel supported everything he said, adding details about how my unexpected arrival on Thanksgiving had traumatized and upset the children terribly. Though she couldn't explain why Lily and Nathan hadn't actually been present during that encounter if it traumatized them so badly. Their lawyer showed social media posts as evidence of their happy, stable family that my legal action threatened to disrupt and destroy. I sat through all of it with calm composure. Linda had coached me carefully. Don't react to anything they say. Don't show emotion on your face. Let them bury themselves with their own lies. Then it was my turn to testify. I walked to the witness stand with my back straight and my voice steady and clear. Linda led me through my testimony carefully and methodically. My relationship with Lily and Nathan from the day they were born until 3 years ago. The monthly visits I made. The birthday presents I sent. The video calls and letters. The $28,000 I'd sent for their education fund over 4 years. Mrs. Campbell, Linda asked, did you ever give your son any reason to believe you wouldn't respect his boundaries regarding his children? Never once, I answered. I always asked permission before visiting. I coordinated schedules with them. I respected their parenting decisions, even when I personally disagreed with those decisions. What happened on Thanksgiving 2025? I described the scene exactly as it had occurred. My voice didn't shake or waver. And did Michael or Rachel explain to you why you weren't welcome at their home? Michael said the holiday was for real family only. He called me old lady and told me to leave immediately. Murmurs spread through the courtroom. The judge made a note on her paper. Mrs. Campbell, have you had any contact with your grandchildren in the past 3 years? No, Your Honor. None at all. My phone calls go unanswered. My letters get returned. I've been completely cut off from their lives. And do you know why that happened? This was the critical moment. The turning point in everything. Yes, I know exactly why, I said clearly. During a phone call, Michael admitted to me that they told Lily and Nathan I'd moved to another state. They lied to the children about where I was to avoid answering questions about why I wasn't visiting them anymore. Michael's lawyer jumped to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Linda smiled confidently. Your Honor, I have Mrs. Campbell's written account of that phone call, written immediately after it happened, dated and timed. I also have phone records confirming the call took place at that exact time. I'll allow it, the judge said. She looked at Michael with new interest. Continue, please. Linda walked toward me with a folder. Mrs. Campbell, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit M. Can you describe what this is? It's a timeline of every single attempt I made to contact my son and grandchildren over the past 3 years. 89 phone calls, 34 emails, 12 letters. 0 responses until after the legal petition was filed. And what is Exhibit N? Social media posts showing family gatherings I wasn't invited to or even told about. Including Lily's 9th birthday party where the caption said, "Our whole family," but I wasn't there at all. And Exhibit P. Bank records showing $28,800 in transfers to Michael's account, all marked for the children's education fund. Linda turned to face the judge directly. Your Honor, I'd also like to submit Exhibit Q. A letter Mrs. Campbell received from her son and daughter-in-law offering her quarterly photos in exchange for dropping this petition. This was a clear attempt to silence Mrs. Campbell while providing minimal access to her grandchildren. The judge took the letter, read it carefully, and looked directly at Michael with a stern expression. Mr. Sherman, did you write and send this letter? Michael shifted uncomfortably in his seat. We were trying to find a reasonable compromise. A compromise involves actual visitation time, not photographs 5 times per year, the judge said sharply. Did you or did you not tell your children that their grandmother had moved to another state? Heavy silence filled the room. Mr. Sherman, answer my question right now. Rachel whispered something urgent to their lawyer. He stood up quickly. Your Honor, my clients request a brief recess to confer with me privately. Well, answer the question, Mr. Sherman. Michael's face had gone completely pale. It was just a misunderstanding. You lied to your daughter about her grandmother's location. The judge finished his sentence. What you call a misunderstanding, this court calls parental alienation and psychological harm to children. And what concerns me even more is the $28,000 Mrs. Campbell sent for her grandchildren's education, while you were actively preventing her from having any contact with them whatsoever. Rachel's composure finally cracked. That money was given freely as a gift. Mrs. Sherman, you're not on the witness stand right now. Be quiet, or I'll hold you in contempt of court. The judge looked at her notes, then at me, then at Michael and Rachel. The silence in the courtroom felt absolutely complete. I've heard more than enough, she said finally. I'm ordering a court-appointed child psychologist to interview Lily and Nathan Sherman within the next 3 weeks. I want to know exactly what they've been told about their grandmother and assess whether they've been subjected to alienation tactics and psychological manipulation. We'll meet again after those interviews are complete for my final ruling. She brought down her gavel with a sharp crack. Michael and Rachel left the courtroom without looking at me even once. Their lawyer tried to spin it as a positive thing. The judge didn't rule in her favor yet, he said. But everyone in that room knew the real truth. They were losing badly, and they knew it. The psychologist's report arrived exactly 3 weeks later. Linda called me the very moment she received it in her office. Dorothy, you need to sit down. You're going to want to hear every word of this. Dr. Amanda Torres had spent 4 hours with Lily and Nathan, interviewing them separately and together. Her findings were absolutely devastating for Michael and Rachel. Lily, now 10 years old, had reported feeling confused and sad about why her grandmother had moved away without saying goodbye to her. She'd asked multiple times if she could call me or write to me, but had been told I was too busy starting my new life to talk to them or think about them. She cried during the interview when Dr. Torres explained I'd never moved away at all. Nathan, age 8, had initially seemed like he didn't care. But as the interview went on, he'd asked if the grandmother he remembered, who used to make chocolate chip cookies and read him bedtime stories, was still alive or in heaven with his grandpa. They'd been told I was dead. Not directly with those words, but through careful implications, through avoiding my existence completely, through changing the subject whenever I was mentioned by the children. Michael and Rachel had let their children believe I might have died. And when Lily kept asking questions, they'd invented the moving story to stop her from asking anymore. Dr. Torres's report was clinical and professional but absolutely damning. The children show clear signs of ambiguous loss regarding their paternal grandmother. They've been given inconsistent and contradictory information that suggests intentional deception by the parents. Lily in particular displays guilt, confusion, and abandonment issues that appear to stem directly from believing she did something to drive her grandmother away from the family. This is completely consistent with grandparent alienation and is psychologically harmful to both children's development. Her recommendation was crystal clear. Immediate restoration of the grandparent-grandchild relationship through regular unsupervised visitation. Mandatory family therapy for all parties involved. Court monitoring to ensure full compliance. The final hearing was scheduled for March 22. This time the courtroom was completely full. George Palmer attended again. Helen brought 3 other women from our grandparents' rights support group. Even Linda's assistant came, though she wasn't required to be there. Judge Hernandez entered and we all stood. When we sat down again, I saw that Michael's face looked gray and sick. Rachel's hands trembled as she folded them on the table in front of her. Their lawyer looked like a man who knew he was about to lose very badly. I've reviewed Dr. Torres's comprehensive report, the judge began. And I've rarely seen such clear, documented evidence of parental alienation in my 20 years on the bench. Mr. and Mrs. Sherman, what you've done to your children and to Mrs. Campbell is absolutely reprehensible and unacceptable. Michael started to speak. The judge held up her hand firmly. I'm not finished talking yet. You told your daughter her grandmother abandoned her and the family. You allowed your son to believe his grandmother might be dead. You took $28,000 from Mrs. Campbell while systematically erasing her from your children's lives. You lied to a court-appointed psychologist during initial screening interviews until your children's testimony contradicted your statements completely. Rachel's face had turned bright red. Your Honor, we were only trying to protect our children from. You were trying to control everything, the judge interrupted. And in doing so, you've harmed your children far more than any grandmother's visit ever could have. Dr. Torres's report makes it absolutely clear that Lily is suffering from guilt, abandonment issues, and trust problems directly caused by your deception and lies. The judge shuffled her papers and looked directly at me with kind eyes. Mrs. Campbell, I'm granting your petition completely and in full. You are hereby awarded court-mandated visitation with your grandchildren as follows. 2 weekends per month, unsupervised, at your home or a location of your choosing. Additional visits on alternating major holidays including Thanksgiving, Christmas, and both children's birthdays. Weekly video calls of at least 30 minutes. And Mr. and Mrs. Sherman will facilitate all these visits without interference, manipulation, or they will face serious contempt charges and possible changes to custody arrangements. Michael's lawyer tried one last desperate time. Your Honor, if I may object. You may not object, the judge said firmly. Furthermore, I'm ordering mandatory family therapy for all parties involved, including Lily and Nathan, to repair the significant damage caused by Mr. and Mrs. Sherman's actions over multiple years. The entire cost will be borne by Mr. and Mrs. Sherman, not Mrs. Campbell. Rachel made a sound like a wounded animal. Michael put his head down in his hands. And one final thing, the judge continued. Her voice was like steel. Mr. and Mrs. Sherman, you will sit down with your children this week with Dr. Torres present, and you will tell them the complete truth. You will explain that their grandmother never moved away, never abandoned them, never stopped loving them, and has been desperately trying to see them this entire time. You will take full, complete responsibility for your deception with no excuses. Dr. Torres will submit a detailed report confirming this conversation took place exactly as ordered. And if I find you've tried to manipulate, minimize, or twist your actions in any way, I will expand Mrs. Campbell's visitation rights even further and consider modifying custody. She brought down her gavel with finality. This hearing is adjourned. I sat frozen for a long moment, unable to process what had just happened. Then Linda grabbed my hand and squeezed it hard. Her eyes were bright with happy tears. You won, she whispered. Dorothy, you won everything. Michael and Rachel gathered their papers in complete silence. As they moved toward the exit, Michael glanced at me just one time. I saw no apology in his eyes. No remorse for what he'd done. Only defeat and deep resentment. I didn't care anymore. I wasn't doing any of this for him. I was doing it for Lily and Nathan and for myself. Outside the courthouse, Helen hugged me tight. George Palmer shook my hand with the firm grip of one professional respecting another. Well fought, Dorothy. Very well fought indeed. That evening, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of chamomile tea. The court order sat on the table right in front of me. In 3 weeks, I would see Lily and Nathan again for real. In 3 weeks, I would be able to hold my grandchildren close and tell them the truth. That I had never ever stopped loving them or thinking about them. I had fought the hardest fight of my life, and I had won. The first visit was scheduled for April 10th. Michael and Rachel dropped Lily and Nathan off at my house at 11 in the morning. Their faces were masks of barely hidden fury and resentment. Dr. Torres had overseen the truth conversation with the children, and according to her detailed report, it had not gone well at all. Lily had cried for an hour. Nathan had been confused, angry, and felt betrayed. Both children now understood completely that their parents had lied to them about something very important. Be back by 7, Michael said stiffly. He wouldn't look at me. I'll have them back when I'm ready, I replied calmly. The court order says I have them until 8 p.m. and I plan to use every single minute. Rachel's jaw clenched tight, but she said absolutely nothing. They couldn't say anything. Not anymore. The court had taken away their power. Lily came through my door very hesitantly. Her eyes were red and puffy from recent tears. Nathan stayed close to his big sister, looking uncertain and scared. They both looked at me like I was a complete stranger, because to them I basically was after so long. "Hi, sweethearts," I said softly. I crouched down to their level. "I know this is very confusing and scary. I know it's been a very long time since we've seen each other. But I want you to know that I've missed you both every single day. And I'm so incredibly happy you're here with me now." Lily's composure crumbled immediately. "Why did they tell us you moved away?" Her voice broke. "Because they made a terrible mistake, sweetheart. Very big mistake. But we're going to fix it now, starting right this moment." I'd planned the day very carefully with lots of thought. First, we made chocolate chip cookies together. My grandmother's special recipe, the same one I'd made for Michael when he was their age. Nathan cracked the eggs and made a huge mess. Lily measured the chocolate chips and snuck several into her mouth when she thought I wasn't looking. The kitchen filled with warmth and the sweet smell of vanilla and butter. While the cookies baked, I showed them the special boxes I'd kept all these years. Every birthday card they'd ever made for me. Every photo from when they were tiny babies. The stuffed bear I'd sewn for Nathan. The dollhouse I'd been building for Lily before everything fell apart. "You kept all of this," Lily whispered. She touched the cards with gentle, careful fingers. "Course I kept everything," I told her. "You're my grandchildren. I treasure everything you've ever given me." By lunchtime, some of the terrible tension had started to ease away. We ate grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup, simple comfort food, and talked about school, their friends, their favorite shows and games. Nathan told me all about his soccer team and how he'd scored 2 goals last week. Lily showed me photos on her phone of her paintings from art class. They didn't mention Michael or Rachel at all. Neither did I. That pain was for another day. Over the following months, a new routine slowly established itself in our lives. Every other weekend, Lily and Nathan came to stay with me at my house. I took them to the science museum, to the aquarium, to the beach to collect shells, to the ice cream shop where Michael used to beg for extra sprinkles when he was little. We cooked together, read books together, did jigsaw puzzles on rainy afternoons. Slowly, carefully, patiently, I rebuilt the relationship that had been stolen from all of us. And I watched as they began to truly understand what had been done to them by their parents. Lily especially struggled with the betrayal she felt. Why would they lie like that? She asked me one evening as we planted flowers in my garden together. She was 11 now, old enough to process very complex emotions. People sometimes make very bad choices when they're afraid of losing control of a situation, I told her honestly. It doesn't excuse what they did, but that's the truth about why it happened. "I don't trust them anymore," she said quietly. "I don't know if I ever will again." I didn't encourage that feeling in her, but I didn't discourage it either. She needed to process all her emotions in her own way and her own time. Meanwhile, Michael and Rachel's perfect world was slowly crumbling around them. The family therapy sessions were mandatory by court order, and Dr. Torres reported that they remained resistant, defensive, and refused to take genuine responsibility for their actions. Their relationship with the children became strained and formal and cold. Lily in particular grew distant from them, spending more time alone in her room, constantly requesting extra visits with me beyond what the court ordered. Worse for them was the social fallout in their community. Someone, I never found out who, had shared details of the court case in their suburban neighborhood. Perhaps it was another parent at Lily's school who'd been in the courtroom. Perhaps it was one of their neighbors who'd witnessed the original Thanksgiving incident. It didn't matter. Word spread like wildfire. Rachel's mother Betty, who had been so prominent and important in the children's lives, apparently confronted her daughter about the lies and manipulation. According to Lily, who'd accidentally overheard a huge argument, there was a massive family fight that ended with Betty dramatically reducing her involvement with Michael and Rachel's household. Their friend group contracted and shrank. Dinner party invitations dried up completely. At Nathan's soccer games, other parents were polite but noticeably cool and distant. In a tight-knit community that valued family bonds above almost everything, their actions had marked them as selfish, deceptive, manipulative, and cruel to an elderly woman. Michael's career suffered too. He'd always been climbing the corporate ladder at an investment firm, But the stress of the court case, the mandatory therapy sessions, and the social stigma took a heavy toll on him. He became irritable, unfocused, and made mistakes. I heard through Lily that he'd been passed over for a major promotion he'd been expecting and counting on. Rachel started drinking more heavily. Lily mentioned it casually one afternoon while we were baking. Mom has wine with her breakfast now sometimes. My heart ached for the children still living in that house, even as part of me felt a grim sense of justice. They'd built their perfect life on lies and manipulation and cruelty. Now those foundations were cracking and crumbling, and everything was falling apart around them. Meanwhile, my own life blossomed like spring flowers. I had my grandchildren back in my life. I had my purpose back. Every Sunday dinner with Lily and Nathan, every holiday we celebrated together, every video call during the week when we couldn't be together in person, these were treasures I'd fought for and won. I reconnected with old friends who'd watched me fight for what was right and admired my strength. I became very active in the grandparents' rights community, helping other people navigate similar heartbreaking situations. Linda and I became very close friends, meeting for coffee every week to discuss cases, life, and everything in between. My house, which had felt so empty and silent and sad for 3 long years, was full of life and joy again. Children's laughter echoing through the rooms. Voices calling Grandma from the backyard. The refrigerator covered in Lily's artwork and Nathan's soccer schedule and photos of all of us together. One evening in late summer, as Lily and Nathan played in the sprinkler in my backyard, Helen came over for dinner on my porch. We sat together with glasses of iced lemonade, watching the children shriek with pure joy and splash each other. "You did it," Helen said softly. "You actually did it against all odds." "I did," I agreed. "And I would do it again in a heartbeat without any hesitation." Michael and Rachel had tried to erase me from existence. They had failed completely. And now they were paying the price for that failure every single day, while I lived the beautiful life they tried to steal from me. Justice, I decided, tasted sweeter than any victory I could have ever imagined. So that's my story, friends. Sometimes you have to fight for the people you love, even when it costs you everything you have. Never let anyone erase you from your family's life without putting up a battle. Now I want to ask you something. What would you have done in my place? Would you have fought back like I did, or would you have walked away? Leave your answer in the comments below. If this story touched your heart or moved you in any way, please hit the like button and subscribe to Granny's Voice for more real life stories from real people. Thank you so much for listening to my story today.